A day of gusty winds across much of the Northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states with an offshore storm. And we've got new winter storm watches going up in parts of the northern plains and into the western Great Lakes. And of course, the never, ever, ever ending winter storm warnings that are out in California. We're going to talk all about that, some prospects for the weekend as we have that plain storm will be moving to the east. We will have all that and more. Where else but right here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which of course, as always, is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, in southwest Suffolk County on Long Island, serving the entire New York, New Jersey, Connecticut tri-state area with everything you need this coming spring to make sure that your home looks fantastic on the outside, or maybe it's your business that you want to look all landscaped and great on the outside. They've got mulch, topsoil, sand, and just in case we get one more chance for snow, they also have salt. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. And you got two of me here because I don't know where Mr. Rayo is. And I have not heard from him. So I don't know if he's having some sort of computer problem, but we're just going to go ahead and start rolling along with the show tonight. And I'm hoping that he pops in at some point. I don't even see him on the chat board. So, okay, it's just me, at least for now. So on that note, let's talk about last night and this morning, because some folks in northeastern Pennsylvania and into northwest New Jersey got 3 or 4 inches of snow. And then everybody else got little or nothing. There were a few places here and there that I saw that had an inch or two, or just an inch, or maybe even a fraction of an inch. But if you were north of New York City, if you were northeast of New York City and Connecticut, you didn't really see anything. And if you were south, central Jersey and Point South, you didn't see much of anything either. So that's the end of that. And I don't know, Anthony Sparacchio, if Joe had to use his snowblower. My guess, no, I doubt. I don't even think he saw a flake. He was definitely too far north with this particular system. So, welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight. Welcome to those of you who are watching in the background and not on the chat board. If you want to be part of the chat board, just look. Oh, okay. Just saw. I have Joe. I have no. Now it showed up. Okay. He's here. Hang on. Let's get him on board. Hi. So only just now did the little thing come up and say, admit Joe Rayo. Okay, he's there, but he's not. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. I said only now did that, admit me thing come up.
Okay.
So I already did.
All right.
Hold on just a
All right.
second.
Well, technology.
Yes, my
And now tonight, and here we are tonight talking about the same thing that we've been talking about for the last 3 or 4 nights, which is
what?
the models are telling us one thing, but we know something else is going to happen.
Oh right. No, I didn't even get to that yet.
Oh, well.
Did not even get to that part yet. Just hang on a second. Let me get you on the screen here. I'm having some problems. Hold on a second. There we go.
Yeah.
Now we're where we're supposed to be, the Joe and Joe Weather Show. No, somebody on the chat board was asking about whether you use your snowblower this morning, and I told him no, that you didn't see a flake or an ice pellet. Am I right?
You're right. You're right. You're right. I mean, like, the local mainstream media ballyhooed snow. Oh, there's snow in the forecast. We'll have more in a moment, And I said, you're a bunch of lame brains.
Yeah, well,
You're a bunch of idiots. I mean, if there's anything you had to talk about the wind. That's what was the main story today.
Right.
But nobody wants to listen. They just want to go their own merry way.
Well,
they
did in the northwest counties of New Jersey. There were a lot of places that got 2, 3, even 4 inches up there.
No, well, To all of you who are watching in Sussex County right now,
Well, it wasn't
I
just Sussex
apologize.
County. It was also Morris County and Warren County and
No,
Hunterdon
Morris
County.
too. Morris, I knew Morris. Morris was a good guy.
Well, you're not
I knew a
in
cat.
you're not in
I
a
knew a
good mood,
cat
are
named.
you?
I knew a cat named Morris. He was very finicky.
Yeah.
So anyway,
somebody is not in a good mood tonight.
oh, well, anyway.
Well, this should make
So
this should make you in a better mood because you were saying that they should have been talking about the wind. So I have already prepared the wind gust map.
Oh,
Okay, so
the
I thought
bundleometer.
I saw some gusts on here, Joe. I saw Atlantic City gusted to 48. And I saw a few gusts to 40 on Long Island. I'm a little bit surprised that maybe because it's borderline, that they didn't put up a wind advisory.
You know, I don't even know what the criteria is anymore for wind advisories or winter weather advice. I mean, Joe, you and I have both seen the Weather Service. Sometimes when there's a coating to an inch and they issue a winter weather advisory in our area. I don't know what an advisory or a criteria is for them. It was windy today. They could headline the forecast with "Today is going to be windy," and here's the forecast. So, and it was.
Right. Yeah. Well, right now, actually, I saw some stronger wind gusts inland as opposed to the coast, because usually it's the other way around. But this is a time of year you not only have the tight pressure gradient, but it's March, and you've got a strong sun, which heats up tries to heat up the lower atmosphere. The upper atmosphere is really cold. You get a lot of mixing, and you just blow away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Didn't start really until mid or late morning. And it was blowing pretty good. And the chill factor was a factor. I mean, today my high temperature, I told Renata our high temperature today here at the house at 2 o'clock was 46, and she looked at me and said, "Really, really?" Well, of course, if you were outside in this wind tunnel and you had a 46, it didn't feel like 46. It probably felt more like 36 or even low and mid 30s. It was a rough day in terms of the wind. But you didn't know it was going to be windy because you were still expecting, not you, Joe.
No,
but
not me personally, no.
The average person who was watching the 11 o'clock news last night, I got to get to bed. I got to wake up early tomorrow morning. All that snow is going to be coming our way. And
I will tell you that Don Coughlin just messaged me and said in Linden, New Jersey, he had 1.2 inches, and the snow was briefly borderline heavy before it stopped. So
yeah.
Anyway, just putting it out there.
Whatever.
All right, let's move on. So let's go where nothing ever happens weather-wise in California, right, Joe? They've got. I would like to know. I wish I had kept track of this because now I'm really curious about it. When was the last time that there wasn't a winter storm warning up in California? I mean, it doesn't stop, and they're up for the Sierra Nevadas. They're up for the coastal ranges in northwestern California into Oregon, but now a whole slew of counties on flood watches because they're going to get some heavy rains that are going to sweep in with the next storm system, and they've got flood watches also on the Nevada side of the border there. So not only do they have all that, however many feet of snow they've gotten, I wonder how many stories of snow they've gotten. By stories I mean height wise. But this has been a really, really tough year for California.
I know it sure has. And I would be, if I lived out there, I would probably say those meteorologists don't know a darn thing. I was told when this winter began that
no, Joe, they were only. I was told there was only going to be an inch or two of snow.
Right.
Right. Well, actually, the problem, in all seriousness, the problem is the opposite. A lot of they knew all of this was coming. It was all well advertised, and just looking at some of the stories that I've seen from the folks that live in some of those mountainous areas that got a ton of snow. Apparently, nobody prepared for it. I mean, in terms of the elected officials and so on. People have been roads haven't been plowed for 10 days, and people can't get to the store, they can't get to the pharmacy, they can't get to the doctor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, they know how New Yorkers felt in '69 after the Lindsay snowstorm, or in 2010 after the Bloomberg blizzard. You remember that,
Yes.
2010, when nobody could go, nobody could go to the store, nobody could go to the pharmacy, and Mayor Bloomberg said, well, you go to a Broadway show, the Broadway shows are open, you can go there.
Yeah. All right, we've got new winter storm watches up for parts of western South Dakota. And I just want to double check here because the coloring, yeah, I figure it is the same. For me on my map, it actually looks like it's two different shades of blue. Winter storm watches up for northern Iowa, southern Minnesota, southwestern Wisconsin. This is the beginnings of the next storm system that will eventually make its way to eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England Friday night into Saturday. So we'll talk about that, of course, when we get there. But much of the rest of the country is quiet. I had a gorgeous day here today, lots of sunshine. Got up into the low 70s, which is an absolutely spectacular day across the South. And in fact, if we look at the satellite, you can see pretty much where it broke out into, again, just going back to the whole wind issue. Once the sun comes out in the month of March, you get that mixing. Even if you don't have a tight pressure gradient, you can get at least breezy, and expect more of that. In the coming days because this wind is not going to go away for until maybe later Thursday. Starting to see moisture coming into the plains from the southwest and out west. You can see the curl there. That's off the coast of Oregon. That is the next mechanism, the next powerhouse that's bringing in moisture. And again, this time there may be a lot of rain to deal with in some areas in California. But so this plain system, Joe, this is going to be for Friday night and for Saturday. And as usual, models are kind of in a few different places. I was sort of left confused with it when I looked at things today. I don't know how you felt about it.
Well, I know that WPC, if you believe their 4 to 7 day winter weather outlook, I've got to worry about possible wintry weather here Friday night into Saturday, Saturday night into Sunday. I get a break Sunday night into Monday, and then I have to worry again about more wintry weather for Monday night into Tuesday. I said, my goodness, we've got all of this wintry weather. I better be ready with the snow shovels and the snow blower if I believe any of this. And I know some forecasts already are quoting accumulations for Friday night into Saturday. So,
are you serious?
Oh yeah,
they're already talking numbers now.
Yep.
For
upwards to 3 inches. I've heard from one source.
See, but my question is, how can you?
I know,
when you
Joe,
have so much variability with how this all could come out. How could you even come up with a number?
You're preaching to the choir. Yes, I know.
I mean, one of my snow removal guys asked me today. He says, "What about for Friday night and Saturday? Have any idea? In terms of, can you give me some numbers?" I'm like, I got, there's too many balls in the air right now. That's exactly the phrase I use. I said, there's too many balls in the air right now. I have no idea what kind of numbers to give you.
Yes.
I was looking at one model and I thought, okay, well, the idea of maybe rain developing Friday evening and then gradually changing over to snow overnight Friday night into early Saturday morning kind of made sense. And then I looked at another model and I thought, well, maybe not. Maybe that doesn't make sense. One would go all rain all the way through. That was another alternative. So I mean, it's not. Yeah. Anyway, you was talking about
the days of my being on television and looking into the camera and telling everybody very unsettled and just leaving it that way. And I was lucky enough to have a news director people will say, well, why don't you pin him down? Why don't you ask him to give us some? And she would say, Joe knows. Joe knows what he's talking about. When Joe feels he's ready, he'll tell you. And that's what I would have done tonight. I said, yeah, well, we may have something Friday night, Saturday. Don't ask me about how much or whatever. It could be rain. It could be snow. We'll see. But, you know,
I
ratings. That's
I
what it all
I
boils
may I
down
may
to.
make I maybe I'll make an early guess tomorrow. But that's at least that's 72 hours. That's at least civilized. Johnny Quest hitting super chat tonight, the first one of the night, and he says Monmouth Mountain has gotten 524 inches at the main lodge and 673 inches at the summit. That's mind-boggling.
I'd like to know who makes the measurements on a daily basis. And I do hope they have a nice warm place to go to at night. And I do hope that they're eating well.
Unless the person goes out there's a different person every time they measure because the person goes out and then never comes back.
I posted a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was a week ago, I posted about the man who climbs regularly, goes up Mount Washington regularly to clean and cook for those who are in the weather observatory. And he doesn't get any money for it. He does it because he likes it.
Okay. Well, all right. That works.
He was upset. He was upset that he was not on the mountaintop, or he was not at the top of the summit of Mount Washington when they set the all-time wind chill record. He said, "Boy, I wish I was there. A lot of fun then."
Oh God. By the way, you mentioned WPC, so this was their map for Saturday. I had it there, and then I moved
there you go.
the mouse, and it disappeared. Now, come on. This is a weird I've been trying, I've been having trouble loading maps down from WPC today. So all of us, there we go. Finally, it came back. So there you are, 10 to 30, basically north and west of Philadelphia and New York City, and 10 to 30%, not 10 to 30 inches, 10 to 30% probability of it of at least, let's say, a few inches. And the darker green is 30 to 50. The darker blue is 50 to 70. So there you have WPC's view. And then on Sunday, the next day, this is the daytime Saturday into Sunday, it's all northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, just north and west of New York City, just north of I-95 in Connecticut, points northward up to southern Vermont, New Hampshire to southwest Maine. It is 10 to 30. And then you said, what, Tuesday? Well, that's off the New European. I don't. Oh, here it is. So that was also shown, I guess, on the overnight. So on this one for Monday into Tuesday, they've got 10 to 30 for most of New Jersey, except up and down the coast east of the Garden State Parkway. Nothing for Long Island, but from just north of New York City, north and west up through New England, it's a fairly large area of 10 to 30 with that dark green of 30 to 50. So we've got, by the way, also Sammy Presley just hit Super Chat tonight. Thank you, Sammy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sammy. Oop.
What? Yeah.
Oh, I just did. This is on Facebook when I get a message or something, or somebody sends me something through Messenger, a little bell rings, and the message comes up in the lower right-hand corner. So.
Oh, okay.
But anyway,
all right. I guess everybody were thrown off tonight because we had the little technical glitch on at the start. So I'm kind of thrown off too here. So here we go. Radar, some scattered, light snows that are moving northeast to southwest around that big low that's sitting south of Nova Scotia that's cranking up all the wind. I'm guessing that most of this is aloft. Maybe a little bit of it is reaching the ground as it moves southward. Did you do you wonder whether maybe one of these patches might survive in the overnight as it moves south?
Well, if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But probably means, at least for the Northeast in general, probably more clouds and clear sky, or more clouds than moonlit skies tonight. Tonight is the night of the infamous full worm moon, or the sap moon, depending upon your viewpoint.
Showers in Missouri, streaming northeastward.
What did Lucy say on that quiz show? The SAP runs
The
every 6
SAP
years?
runs every 2 years.
Every 2 years, that's
Right.
right.
Right. She had the answers, but they had different questions.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Freddie Fillmore.
Right, because the original question was how long, how often does the maple tree in the maple trees in Vermont, uh, how long does the sap, with getting the sap, and the answer to the question was the sap runs every 2 years, and they switched the question to what is a congressional member's term of office?
And she says, and the SAP runs every 2
The
years.
sap runs every 2 years.
And what they should have
Now,
done was they should have given her full credit.
Yeah. What was a senator's term of office?
Term of office.
Right. And the SAP was every 2 years, and the answer was actually 6 years. Okay. So we've got showers in Missouri, back down to Oklahoma and West Texas. We've got snow in parts of the Dakotas and Minnesota, and also out in the West. You can see there's rain that is coming in to California, and it's snow in the mountain ranges. I'm going to get the WPC. Do I have? I didn't. I had to reload these maps the other day, so let me get the WPC rainfall. Let's get the QPF map and see what they're forecasting out there with rain, because I'm curious. All right, so here's the 7-day rainfall amounts, and some the mountains. And actually, they may even get some of the areas, Joe, that have gotten a lot of rain, got a lot of snow, may actually get some rain out of this at some point. But the moistures, another 10 plus inches of rain, of liquid precip for the Sierra Nevadas. They already have just about 200% or triple the normal snowfall in a given year, and now you're going to put another 7 to 10 inches of liquid over there. That's crazy.
Well, that's nature.
That's just crazy.
Can't do anything about it.
Yeah, they have the coastal areas too, running down to about Los Angeles in the 1.5 to many inches, going up the coast into northwestern California, into northwestern California, southwestern Oregon. In the lower Mississippi Valley, with the threat for some thunderstorms at some point, we're looking at 1.5 to 3 inches plus. In the Northeast, it's not a lot. Only a half an inch of liquid showing up in eastern PA, New Jersey, Long Island, and just touching coastal Rhode Island and Massachusetts. It's only a quarter of an inch of liquid back up into Connecticut, which sort of leads you. This is another reason why just to be cautious with this weather system for Friday night and Saturday, because depending on how it sets up, I don't know how much precip you're going to get out of it. Frank Scalera just hit Super Chat, Joe. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Frank. Joining the list on tonight, Johnny Quest and Sammy Presley. So thank you all.
Okay. All right. So why don't we just get to the crux of this moving forward? I'm kind of confused. I don't know what to make of. I look at the upper air and I think, okay, well, it's not, it's okay from the standpoint of the dynamics. You've got this deep trough in the east right now, wrapped up upper low near Nova Scotia. So that's going to pull out. Now you got this next round of energy coming in, and there's an upper low that forms on the GFS. But now it moves across upstate New York and into New England instead of diving down further south. So right there, it's a bit different. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. I'm sorry, folks. I was too far ahead into the future. That's for next weekend. Okay, here we go. I knew it didn't look right, or it didn't feel like it looked right. There's the big block sitting in the Davis Strait. You see the storm off of Nova Scotia, the arm that comes around, that starts to pull away. The block actually weakens a little bit, which is, you kind of want to see that if you're a snow lover. And here's your upper low that comes into the east and moves off the New Jersey coast. Now, you know what, Joe? If this were a little bit, if this is a little bit further to the south, it could be a little it could be more interesting for Friday night and Saturday, and that's something the European kind of hinted at, but it's also not as deep on the European. So I don't know what your thought is on all of this.
I'm wondering whether or not what we're looking at is the same thing that Dr. Judah Cohen is looking at, because 7 hours ago on his Twitter page, again, this is just 7 hours ago, the latest Twitter from Dr. Cohen, latest polar cap geopotential height plot. Now, when was the last time we looked at that, Joe? The
But
geopotential height plot shows,
I think that's the first time anybody ever said that.
well, latest polar
Certainly
cap
on this
geo.
show.
I think this message pretty much suggests that Dr. Cohen has thrown in the towel and has given up on this winter. He says latest polar cap geopotential height plot shows strengthening polar vortex, but more importantly, a lack. Let me stress that again: a lack of high latitude blocking would likely be, for all intents and purposes, the final nail in the coffin of winter, or for many, zombie winter
Well,
2023.
but he's talking now. He's probably talking more down the road. I mean, he's not talking about tomorrow or next week. It'd probably be after that.
But he does say this forecast tends to be volatile. So,
Yeah, but I don't think he's talking about right now, right this moment. It's not like tomorrow we're going to wake up and there's going to be, a ridge up the East Coast and a
no,
trough in the West. I mean, if the polar vortex is going to regroup up there, maybe we're looking at this pattern holding for about 10 days to 2 weeks, and then, as we get toward the latter part of March, it'll be gone, which I
yeah,
guess would kind of make sense. So
yeah,
anyway, here's the upper low though. I'm just talking about this thing for Saturday, where you got this upper low over the Great Lakes that passes off the New Jersey coast and is south of Long Island. You know, I, I don't know. It's there's another upper low to the northwest of it that's sort of dumbbelling around it. You've got the 50-50 low that's east of Newfoundland, so it's an okay upper air setup. I just wonder if the dynamics are going to play down to the lower atmosphere, and are you going to get enough development so that you get a wide area of precip? Because when I looked at the GFS and I looked at the European, I was kind of underwhelmed by the amount of precip that was being produced.
yeah. I know. The only thing I looked at today, Joe, I did look at the European, and I saw not one, not two, but three different systems that would possibly affect us in the upcoming 240 hours. And I looked at all three of those, and I said, somehow or other, as they approach, they're going to do something stupid. Something stupid. This one coming up on Friday probably will dig well to the south and east
Well,
of our area.
that's what the European did. The
Right.
Europeans got the upper low, and I think and part of the problem is here you don't have a really strong ridge in the west. In fact, you've got an upper low and a trough coming into the Pacific Northwest. And yeah, the upper low on the European goes off southern New Jersey and then moves southeast,
Right.
doesn't lift up. So you'd get some precip out of that, but I don't know that you would get very much. Is
It's
that
like I said, something stupid. That's
right? Well,
it's
well, then that
uh,
goes out. The next one seems like it wants to dig a bit more, and it's got the European for next Wednesday has a wrapped up cutoff low sitting, right over Montauk. So but again, here comes more troughing into the western part of the United States. You cannot get a ridge in the west. You can't even buy a ridge in the west.
right.
Look at that. If you look at the west, it just as soon as one pulls out, the next one just dives right down from the northwest and parks itself, you know, right along or just inland of the west coast. It's just absolutely endless.
Yeah. It's like a weather forecaster in San Diego during June, July, and August. Tune in
Oh,
again tomorrow, and hopefully there'll be something different, but not likely.
no, not likely. All right. So anyhow, let's go back to this. Oh God. So this is on the 18Z GFS, and of course, again, you can see a million isobars between that 1043 high at Lake Winnipeg and a low that's actually off the map south of Nova Scotia. So the wind's going to blow tomorrow, but it will be dry. There's your storm in the plains. Take a look at what's coming into the into the west. This animal low that's off the west coast, and again here in the Sierra Nevadas, even there they got heavy rain. And there's just a stripe of dark blue snow, but it's very narrow. It's going to be more rain than anything else there. Now the system coming out of the southern plains, the central plains. There's a low in Missouri that goes into Indiana, into western PA, and then of course it's another one of these primary secondaries. The European Joe has the primary going into Virginia, into West Virginia, which would be actually a bit more favorable for snow. Again, the low redevelops the whole game of marginal cold air right along the immediate coast. If you believe this, it says it'll start as rain Friday night, except inland. Inland it'll probably be snow, but along the immediate coast it'll be rain and then change over to snow before the low pulls away sometime Saturday morning. That was my initial conclusion. And then when I saw the European was a little more south and east, I thought, you know what? Um, Maybe not. Maybe it'll be more of a light event that'll be more snow than anything else, but you wouldn't get much precip out of it.
Yeah, it every night it changes a little bit. Every night it gets tweaked a little bit. Every night it either, and it'd be nice if for a change you can get all the models on the same page, but you can't. They never will
Right.
be. And
Well,
I don't know.
here's at least when you look at the radar presentation of it, there's a fair amount, there's a decent radar shield going into Friday afternoon and evening. Then Friday night and Saturday morning, I mean, you would think with a low going into Western PA and redeveloping that you would spread a precip shield, a fairly solid precip shield up into New England. But I look at what it sees for the radar at 1 a.m. Saturday morning. I mean, it's not a lot. It really isn't. And then by 7 a.m., except for along the immediate coast where there's the darker blue snow over Long Island and some of the lighter blue snow in parts of central and south Jersey, there's very little north and west of there. And it just,
Yeah.
and that's it. So, the dynamics are there, but they may not come together in a way that's going to produce a whole lot from what I'm seeing right now. And then the GFS kind of loses the second thing for early next week. I mean, it has it mostly offshore, whereas the Europeans got this sort of this wrapped up bomb in
Right.
southeastern New England. So
Right.
again, do we know? I don't know. I mean, you got the block. It sort of makes sense that you would probably have a follow-up system and maybe one more after that. But in terms of in terms of specifics, there's no way to know. And I guess what we could do now is, because I will have it, so I've got the pivotal weather, so I might as well show it. The 18Z goes out 90 hours, which is, I think that's the
Huh.
that's the Saturday morning. I can get this darn thing to load. There we go. And let's see if it puts any snow amounts on here. There's the little blue ball, the little blue circle. Roll it up to 90 hours. So 90 hours, Joe, is 7 a.m. Saturday. Okay. So it has less than an inch at Brentwood, which is islip, 1.3 at New York City, 1.6 at Yonkers. It's got some higher amounts out, western New Jersey, Philadelphia, 3.5, 1.8 in Trenton, 2.3 at Wilmington. I mean, I think maybe we might need another forecast period here to add on to it. Just want to see what it's got at the surface. Let's take a look.
Now is
Uh,
this based? Now this is based on the 18Z, right?
this is the 18Z, so it only
All right.
takes us 90 hours. So we're only going to talk about the first thing with this. Let me just widen this map out and go to the regional, and just so we could see what it does with the surface low. I'll use the Mid-Atlantic view. That's good enough. All right, so let's take a look at what the 18Z European is doing. No, I don't want a sounding. Thank you so much. All right. So here we go. So it had a low on the 12Z going into West Virginia, and this one has a low that goes pretty much in the same place. And it gets into Southwest PA. So it kind of gets to where the GFS got it to, only it took a slightly more southern route to get it there. Then, of course, the primary is gone. Sleet over Long Island to start. Now, this is at 10 o'clock. So this is at 10 o'clock Friday night. It's got a 1,004 low east of Hatteras. It's pretty far south. And 1 a.m., it's sleet on the coast and snow inland. 4 a.m., look at the precip, Joe. It starts to dry up. I mean, you wonder if the European is right. Look how far south and east the low is. It's all the way down
Yep.
on the longitude of, it's at 37 and 71.7. It's much further south and east than the GFS has it. And this is sort of what the 12Z run did. So you got to wonder whether if the block is, if it's telling us that the block is a little stronger, then you're going to have a track that's further south, and you may wind up starting to suppress everything further south.
Yep. Sometimes you look to the heavens and say, I want something. You say, I want a block. We need a block. And sometimes you get the block. Sometimes the block is a little too strong. Sometimes the storm that you're looking forward to hits the block and moves south and east out of your area. Next storm. Next page.
All right. Well, we're back up full speed. Let's do Briller Jeopardy, and let's get Briller Jeopardy done. So, anyway.
So who has Briller Jeopardy?
I have it.
Oh, you have it.
Here we go. Okay, so tonight, folks, it's weather extremes in everybody's favorite town, Caribou, Maine. Caribou, Maine, everybody. You ready? What's the highest temperature ever recorded in Caribou, Maine?
Oh, they can get hot up there. They Caribou can don't be fooled. Even though they're up in the tippy top of Maine, they could still get some heat. I think I'll say 96 degrees, Joe.
And Phil G says 98. Teresa De Silva said 98. Bobby Livingsworth said 78. Silvio Balzano is in a whole nother world at 107. Zim says 95. Chris Alley 101. 91
I like
for Helen Bertona.
Bogey's Bees 88.7. That's what I like. You narrow it all the way down to the nearest tenth of a degree.
I waited for somebody other than you to get the correct answer. Debbie Carroll and Norm Roberts and John Charles all saying 96 as you did. 96. Now for the bonus question, Joe. What year?
Bonus.
What year?
Oh, come on. What year?
What year?
Well, I remember that Montreal, not last year, but the year before, there was some unusual ridging going on like in April or May, and they got up to like 97 Fahrenheit, something like 36 Celsius. So I'll say, you're asking for the year, I'll say 2 years ago, 2021.
Had you gone one more year back,
2020.
2020. And John Charles got it at 2020. Okay.
Congratulations,
Next,
John Charles.
Lowest temperature ever recorded. And
lowest temperature.
Lowest temperature.
Well, let's see. I was just reading the other day, there was an outbreak of extreme frigid air in January of 1994, and Watertown got down to 43 degrees below zero. So assuming that Caribou is a little further to the north, I'll say for them, minus 46.
Well, Phil G hit it right away, very early, and so did Northern Grace, and so did John Charles at minus 41.
Wow.
And the year on that was 1955.
Wow.
The greatest 24-hour snowfall. The greatest 24-hour snowfall including the fraction. Okay? The greatest 24-hour
Uh,
snowfall.
I 25.8.
25.8. Earth Shield says 4 feet. No. 28.6. Silvio Balzano hit it on the nose.
Oh, come on.
28.6. Well, he was there when it happened. That's why. Uh, if you're cheating, Silvio, 28.6 in 1984. And the last one tonight, the yearly snowfall record. And it was set in 2008. Okay? 2008. The yearly snowfall record.
Was that the same year that Boston had like 102 inches?
No, that was if it was said. I'm assuming he means the winter of 2007, 2008, and that was a crap.
Right.
That was a winter like this one.
Right.
So 2008.
All right. So the biggest or the most amount of snow?
No, the total for the whole season.
The total for the whole season.
Yes.
What would you say if I said 2.3 inches? No, not for Caribou, Maine. I I'll say 134.
Michael McGuire said 325. That's a smidge too high. Bogies Bees said 134.4. Phil G 90. William Uber 215. Nope, too high. 122.1 for Sammy Presley. What did you say, Joe?
I think I said 134.
Okay. Earth Shield 125. No, so far nobody's. Oh, okay. Northern Grace finally. Thank you. Patrick Darcy at 176. Northern Grace at 178.
Wow.
And Adam Lowe splits the difference, and that is the correct answer. 177 inches set in the year 2008.
Wow.
And that's all you need to know weather-wise about Caribou, Maine.
Did I ever tell you the story about how I got in trouble? Not too far away from Caribou is Madawaska and St. John. And I was doing the weather on 2 radio stations. They were what we call one lung stations because one, I think, was 500 watts and the other was 250 watts. Yet there I was doing the weather for them from down here in Queens, New York, at the weather station, weather service that I was working at. And I got into trouble. It was leading up to Christmas. And there was a storm coming, and moderate to heavy snow, calling for snow amounts of like 4 to 8 or 5 to 10 inches, blizzard-like conditions, temperatures in the teens, wind chills below zero, and it was coming up on a weekend. Maybe it was the weekend before Christmas. I don't know. And I went on the air, and I said, do not go out. Do not do anything. Stay home. This is going to be a terrible, you're putting your life on the line. I went through the whole gamut of warning people, don't fool around with this type of weather pattern. Within 5 minutes, I got a phone call from, I think, the station in Madawaska. And they said, you've got to change the forecast. I said, what do you mean change the forecast? He said, we're getting phone calls from all of the stores on Main Street in Presque Isle or whatever, saying, he's telling everybody to stay home. This is the week before Christmas. We'll be ruined. Please tell him. And so I had to go back on the air. I went through the entire litany, but I put less emphasis on stay home. But I finished my forecast by saying, if any of you have any plans to go out today, and I paused for 5 seconds. There was dead silence for 5 seconds. And then I said, think them over. And that's how it was aired. Can you believe it? I mean, like all of the stores, I guess all the local merchants or whatever got very, PO'd at me. The fact that I said, don't go out because there's going to be like blizzard conditions and heavy snow and temperature, wind chills below zero. And they got upset. They said, how dare he say that? What are we going to do? We're not going to have it. And it made me wonder. I said, all the people who were at the stores, they didn't even close the stores. They're sitting there waiting while it's little America out there. But anyway.
Well, I would think in Maine that they'd be able to handle anything. So, how much snow were you forecasting?
I'm saying like 5 to 10 inches or 6 to 10 inches. But I mean, Joe, it was like whiteout conditions and,
No,
bitter cold,
You know how
No.
those are hardy folk up there. I mean,
Yeah.
it snows up in the wintertime. So
Whatever.
anyhow, Phil G hitting super chat to finish off the night. Thank you, Phil. We got 112 likes tonight. Thank you those of you who have hit the like button. It was nice when you go over 100 likes, so you don't even have to ask. So they did. So everybody, we'll be back tomorrow night. We'll both be in better spirits at 7:35 Eastern Time.
Yes, and thank you again to Phil G., Brad DeBoer, Frank Scalera, Sammy Presley, and Johnny Quest for hitting the tip jar tonight.
Thank you. All right, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, folks.